Hey everybody, it's William Nayrod here, the Paradise Guy, your Belize expert, and I am here to share things with you that you wish you would have known before you went. Yes, 8 important things that you have to know before you ever even visit the country, so stay tuned. So you may know me as the Paradise Guy. Yes, I've been down in Belize for 7 years telling people from all over the world about how to live, invest, how to retire, how to start a business, how to navigate the complicated and complex landscape that is Belize. See, everybody comes to Belize and they think, oh, life in paradise, I'm just gonna hang out on the beach, lay in a hammock, drink some coconut water, have a beer at the beach, own my own business or whatever I want to do, and everything's going to be easy. That is a misconception because life goes on in this place just like it does everywhere else, and there are certain things that are complicated, there are certain things that are difficult to navigate, and you do need a trusted advisor to make sure that you understand how to best navigate that. I've been doing this for 7 years. I have literally had 1 million people watch my videos. I've had thousands and thousands of people contact me over the last 7 years to get my advice, to get my guidance on how to go to Belize, how to visit, vacation, invest, retire, start a business. Because of that, because of all the questions that have been asked over those last 7 years, I've become what you could call an expert on how to best get through the process of all of those things. So if you really want to understand Belize, definitely you got to be in contact with me. You can always reach me at info@paradiseguy.com. You can set up a private consultation with me where we spend an hour on the phone just talking about all of your questions, me sharing 7 years worth of knowledge that I've garnered from not only my own experience, but garnered from all of my clients and customers' experience. You see, you want to be well informed, and that's the most important thing that I do for my clients, and that's really why you're here today. So stay tuned, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna wanna know, especially here in the pandemic era that we're in, is what are the restrictions? What happens if you want to travel Belize? How do you prepare for that? Well, the first thing you gotta do is see what the airline availability is, because flights are there one day, they're gone the next. There's lots of cancellations, there's changes, and so you need to check with your various airlines to see what's available and what you're able to do as far as the flights are concerned. If you want to bring pets or anything like that, you're going to have to take that into consideration because sometimes there are restrictions with airlines, other times it can be quite easy, but there is a process that you're going to need to follow if you want to travel with a pet. So let me know if you do. If you want to contact me to ask how you can bring a pet to Belize with you as your travel companion, whether that be an emotional support animal or whether that be a actual service animal, there's a really big difference and you're going to want to know that. So hit me up at info@paradiseguy.com. So let's dive right into some other things here. Next thing I want to cover is gold standard resorts. What is a gold standard resort? Well, if you go online, you're going to see that there are certain resorts that have qualified through the BTB, which is the Belize Tourism Board in Belize, to be what's called a gold standard resort. It means they're following all the safety precautions. It means they've been certified in how to keep their guests safe. It means all of their employees, most of the time, have already been vaccinated. And it means that the country and the tourism board have approved of them as a provider to help you have a safe stay in Belize. But not only a safe stay for you, but a safe stay for all the inhabitants wherever you're going to be in Belize. You see, Belize has very limited healthcare options, and because of that, they want to keep their population safe and healthy, but they also want to keep you safe and healthy. So if you have questions about what gold standard resorts are or where to find them, I have a list of that. I'd be happy to email that to you. Hit me up for that at info@paradiseguy.com and I'll be sure to send it your way. Next thing I want to cover is, what about gold standard tour operators? You see, there are some restrictions around tour operators and what they can do, how many people they can have on their boats, etc., and how many people they can take on a tour in a given day, because there's obviously restrictions on how close you can be to one another. So what tour operators can you call? Which tour operators are the best, most reliable, have the best track record? You see, in 7 years, I've referred hundreds and hundreds of people to tour operators in the country of Belize. I know who the best people are, I know who you can count on, I know who has the best prices, and I know who you should avoid, because not everybody is equal. So if you're interested in coming to Belize and going on different excursions, again, you got to hit me up and ask me about that, and I'm happy to send you a list and or have a discussion with you about what you want to do and help you set an itinerary that's going to fit into your desired activities, your desired experiences that you want to have when you're in the beautiful country of Belize. There is a lot of fun to be had, and in order to have the best time, you need to get the best price, the best tour operator, the best excursions, doing the most amazing things that fit with what you, your family, and or your guests want to do. Moving right along, restaurant restrictions. Restaurant restrictions are something that ebbs and flows. So sometimes it's at 30%, sometimes at 50%, sometimes at 70%. But there's generally some sort of restriction on restaurant capacity. This is something you've got to avail yourself of because it will limit, potentially, your ability to go out to dinner to some of the finest restaurants in Belize. By the way, if you want to know which restaurants you have to go to when you're in Belize, let me know. Obviously, in 7 years, I've been to a lot of great restaurants, and the ones I haven't been to, my clients and customers have been to, and they've told me their impressions about them. So literally, I can advise you where to eat, what it's going to cost, and of course, what are the best dishes to order. Next item, curfews. Yes, unfortunately, curfews do exist in Belize, at least right now. They have in the past as well. Sometimes they haven't. It also depends upon your location. So there's different curfews depending upon where you are in the country. Curfews mean that from a certain time at night, to a certain time in the evening, you have to be at home. You're not allowed to actually be out and about. So be sure to talk to me about curfew restrictions before you come. That may even dictate whether or not you want to come at that time of year, because if you have to be in by 7 o'clock every night and you're kind of a person that likes to be outside doing fun things in the evening time, being home at 7 o'clock is going to be a drag. So contact me first and let's make sure you have the right information. All right, moving right along to our next topic. What are the vaccination and PCR requirements? Well, this is again a moving target. What's happening right now, the direction this is going, is that they are actually requiring vaccinations for you to go to certain places. Right now, especially government buildings in Belize require that you present proof of full vaccination before you can go onto their premises. Restaurants and some bars are moving in that direction, but at the very least, when you travel to Belize, you're going to need a negative PCR test within 72 hours of your arrival in the country. If you do not have that, you can be tested at the airport once you arrive. It will cost you $50 US. That price could go up after you watch this video, but right now it's $50 US per test, and it takes about 30-45 minutes for you to figure out whether you're positive or negative. But what happens if you're positive? Oh no, you've made a trip to Belize and you're gonna get to spend 14 days in quarantine at your own expense. Congratulations, you won the lotto. Yay! Not a real fun idea, but does it happen? Yes, it does, and you need to be prepared for that. But let's assume you arrive and you test negative. You test negative, you come into the country, you're staying at a gold standard resort, you're going on gold standard excursions, you're able to go out to dinner, you know what the curfew times are. Guess what? You are on the right track so far. Thanks for contacting me. Thanks for letting me help you get on the right track so that you have an enjoyable time without any hassle and with the proper expectations. Let's move on to our next topic. Every place around the world right now has mask requirements of some sort, right? So Belize is no different. Of course, in Belize, you're required to wear a mask sometimes, other times you're not. Recently, you had to wear a mask when you were driving down the cart on your down the street on your golf cart if you were on the island of America's Key. Now, that is no longer required. But if you walk into a restaurant, you gotta have a mask on. If you walk into a store, you gotta have a mask on. If you're walking around a hotel or a resort, you gotta have a mask on. So be sure to bring mask, maybe a couple different masks, okay? And make sure that you know exactly what the requirements are at the time you are coming. So as of the shooting date of this video, those are the restrictions and the requirements for masks, but those are subject to change at any time. So again, contact me before your trip. Okay, so what's next? The next issue I want to talk about is really a very, very serious one, and one you should definitely take into serious consideration before traveling to Belize, and that is healthcare. As it sits today, the healthcare system in Belize is at capacity. It's maxed out. COVID is on its third wave in the country. The hospitals are at maximum capacity treating people with COVID. That means should you have a health issue when you're down there and it's not a very serious matter, you may have a hard time actually finding treatment. Now, if you're on the island of Ambergris Caye, there are private doctors and they're very qualified, very good doctors. I've used them on many, many occasions over the last 7 years, and you can generally get in to see them, but there's also some restrictions depending upon what symptoms you're exhibiting and what times they actually may be open, and also their capacity and how many patients they're currently seeing. So if you've got ongoing health issues, if you think you might have COVID, if you have the potential for having a serious health issue, make sure you're as prepared as possible. Bring your medications. Bring a copy of your prescriptions. Although most of the time in Belize you don't need a prescription, they've started in the pharmacies to require proof of some prescriptions in order to acquire medications. All right, so that's medication, that's healthcare. Again, contact me before the trip so I can tell you what the current situation is. But just understand, as it sits right now, as I'm shooting this video, healthcare is pretty much maxed out in Belize, so be aware of that before your trip. Next important issue I want to cover is safety precautions and crime. You can imagine that since the pandemic has hit, that there has been extreme emotional and psychological and financial pressure on the population of Belize. The country of Belize is almost wholly dependent upon tourism. They need those tourism dollars in order to survive. So because they need these dollars to survive, and because these dollars have been relatively absent in the last 2 years, people are hungry. People are somewhat desperate. These people are more apt to commit crimes. Now, most of these crimes are petty crimes. Steal your iPhone, take something out of your cart, maybe take some money, off the table that you left. Maybe get into your hotel room if you leave the door open and steal some belongings. Violent crime is less common, but violent crime has gone up significantly since the pandemic has hit. Now, majority of the time, this is not against tourists and or expats, but there is a lot of tension in the air right now as far as crime goes, and you just need to be aware of that. So you don't want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time doing the wrong thing. I need to advise you on where to go, what to do, but I also need to advise you on what not to do, where not to go, so that you are as safe as possible when you're in the country. Belize is relatively a safe place. I was there, straight for 5 years, and I've been doing business in Belize for over 7 years, helping people do exactly what you're considering doing right now. I've not felt unsafe. But I've seen crimes happen. I've heard of crimes happen, and those have been crimes sometimes against expats, sometimes against residents, sometimes against citizens. So crime does happen just like anywhere in the world, but there are practices and procedures and precautions that you can take to keep yourself safe, and I want you to talk to me about those so that I can advise you in the best way to do that. So what should we talk about next? Let's see. How about some fun stuff like what to do, where to go, how to have fun. Let's talk about excursions. See, before you make your trip down to Belize, you got to talk to me about What should I do, Will? Where should I go? Should I go to the mainland and go cave tubing or zip lining? Should I go and go fishing? Should I go see the reef? Should I do snorkeling? Should I swim with the manatees? Should I go fishing? Should I go feed the tarpon? Should I go to other islands? What exactly should I do? What are the costs of that? Should I go to the Blue Hole? Should I go catamaraning? Should I go sailing? There's so much to do in Belize, and so many things are fun, and so many things are once-in-a-lifetime bucket list type experiences. I've had the good fortune to do a lot of those, and I've certainly had the privilege of helping my clients enjoy everything under the sun. So before you come, talk to me about what kind of experience you want. What is your budget? How many days are you going to be in town? What would be the best itinerary for you to set for yourself? Where should you eat? Where should you vacation? Where should you stay? Where should you go on your excursions? Who should you use as your excursion providers? All of this stuff is really important stuff to know, and I also need to make sure that I understand what kind of experiences you want to have. So don't forget to contact me. All right, moving on to number 5 here on our list, transportation. What do you do once you get to Belize? How do you get around? Well, you're going to arrive at the international airport. When you arrive at the international airport, you can take a taxi cab to a water taxi, and your water taxi can bring you over to Ambergris Caye. You can also take a puddle jumper, is what we call it, or a small airplane, fly over to the island. It's a couple hours versus 15 minutes, whichever you prefer. Of course, there's a price differential in that. But maybe you're not going to go over to Ambergris Caye. Maybe you're going to stay on the mainland. Well, you can certainly get some resort transportation if it's available. You can take a taxi cab. That's always available. But you can also get around Belize in other ways. You can rent a golf cart if you come to the island, and renting a golf cart is definitely something I advise you to do because you're going to want to explore the island, and everybody else frankly is on a golf cart, and it's an easy way to get around. The gas is inexpensive, and it's very, very exhilarating to get around in a golf cart versus driving a car. It's open air, the wind is in your face, and everybody waves at you as you're going down the road. So it's really kind of a novel experience, and I highly advise it. But not all golf cart rental places are the same. The quality of your golf cart will vary greatly. The price that you pay will vary greatly. The service that's provided around your golf cart rental will be completely different. When I get you a golf cart, you're going to be assured this. You're going to get a very fair price. You're going to get top-notch service. And here's the reason why. I refer a lot of clients to my golf cart people. And so they want to make sure that my clients, you, are treated very, very well, because otherwise they may not get my next referral. So use that leverage that I have with these golf cart providers to make sure that you have an amazing experience, and I promise you, you'll be happy that you did. Okay, moving right along. People come to the island, or they come to Belize, and they experience lust. Yes, lust. When you come to paradise, it's kind of normal. You're gonna see the sand, you're gonna see the beautiful water, you're gonna have experiences you've never had. You're gonna sit at a beach bar and enjoy tropical drinks or beers you've never tried before. You're gonna have a great time, and it's real easy to fall in love with Belize. Belize is getting more and more popular because it's such a unique place. I mean, English is spoken here, there's tax advantages, real estate is still relatively affordable. I mean, there's lots of reasons to love Belize. Not the least is having a great time with a lot of different expats from all over the world. So, what should you do when you decide you want to invest, or you want to live, or you want to buy something for yourself in Belize? What should you do? Well, the first thing you should do is find a real estate agent. But you know what? Real estate agents are different in Belize because they're not all licensed. As a matter of fact, very few of them are licensed because licensing is not required in the country of Belize. So you need to find out who's licensed, what their experience is, how long have they been a real estate agent. Myself, for example, I've been in real estate for over 35 years. I've had the pleasure of doing real estate in 3 different countries, Mexico, Belize, and of course the United States. I've helped thousands of clients over the years in their acquisition of both investment real estate, commercial real estate, and of course, vacation real estate. So I'm not saying I have to be your choice. There are others out there that are plenty qualified as well, but I'd certainly like you to consider me as an option. And the reason why is that I'm not motivated the same way that other real estate agents are. I'm not sitting here looking at you as somebody just to make a commission off of. What I care most about is my reputation going forward as somebody who helped you, who protected you, who guided you. Most of the time when people come to Belize, I advise them to rent for a while before buying. What you'll find is most other agents out there will advise you to buy as quickly as possible because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's a great deal. Or you'll talk to a developer that really wants you to buy today and they're making you a deal that isn't going to be around tomorrow. So you're going to experience some high-pressure tactics that may not be in your best interest, but may be in their best interest. Me, I'm not like that. What I do is I care first about your needs, your wants, your desires, and your best interest. I'll get compensated when I get compensated if you decide to work with me, which I hope you do. So, if you've got dreams, aspirations, investment ideas, and/or questions about anything to do with real estate, whether it be rental real estate and/or purchasing real estate, contact me first and let me talk you through this because I've had a tremendous amount of experience in doing so. All right, how do you live when you actually show up in Belize? I mean, what are your options? Well, you can get a work permit and you can work on the island or work on the mainland, but you cannot do so without a work permit. So there's a process to getting that. It takes time, effort, and some money to do that. I can connect you with the right people to help you get that done in the most expeditious way possible and also help you save money in the process. Secondarily, you can become a retired person in Belize. There are qualifications around that. You have to be over 45 years old. You have to make sure that you can show that you can bring $2,000 into a local bank account, which by the way, that's a process as well. So you need to know how to open up a bank account. I can show you how to do that. You need to know how to make application and qualify for the Qualified Retirement Program. You need to know how to get your work permit. So no matter what you're going to do, you need to know how to do it. You also need to know if you're going to come and just visit part of the time, how to get your visa, how to renew your visa, what are the costs associated with that, what is the process for doing that. I'm here to advise you on all of that to make sure that you can get that done as easily and as cost effectively as possible. So stay in touch with me, contact me again before you come, and let's make sure that you get all of that information up front. All right, let's talk about ownership of real estate. You know, there's a lot of advantages in Belize to owning real estate. First of all, when you go to sell it, there's no capital gains. If you pass it on to your heirs, there's no inheritance tax. And rental income is taxed at a very, very low rate. However, there's lots to know about becoming a landlord in Belize, how to manage tenants, how to manage Airbnb if you're able to even do that, how to deal with property management companies, and much, much more. So before you decide to pull the trigger on renting, investing, becoming a landlord, doing Airbnb, any of that, you got to talk to me about these things because there's lots to know. There's lots to consider before you buy any property. Some properties actually will restrict you in how much usage you have. They'll restrict you as far as who can manage it. They'll restrict you as far as what the split is going to be between rents collected, how much they're going to keep, and what you're going to keep. So you need to understand these things. Again, I advise people every single day on how to make the best decision for themselves and their objectives, and I want to do the same for you. Another thing to consider with real estate is what are the closing costs? You see, in Belize, there is a stamp tax. Property taxes are relatively low, but there is a stamp tax that's due when you go to get your title. So when you go to get your title, you're going to pay an 8% of the purchase price in cash to the government of Belize in order to get your title. You can count on about 2% in legal fees in order to get your deal closed. So 10% added on to the actual purchase price of your real estate is what you consider. Another thing that you should consider is that Belize is still primarily a cash market. There are a few developers out there that will offer some developer financing. There's one that I know of that will actually offer traditional bank financing, and it's because they are actually an owner of several banks in the country. If you'd like to finance something, you can do so through owners, because they have to offer that, because otherwise it would only be a cash market. But the terms of that are generally very different from traditional financing: higher interest rates, shorter terms, and balloon payments at the end of the term. So contact me about all that and we'll talk. Last thing I'm going to talk about real estate is utility costs. People get very surprised when they move into a place and or rent a place and they turn on that AC and they run it and run it and run it and they get that first utility bill, and it's not hundreds of dollars, it's like $1,000. Happened to me when I first came to Belize. My first month, my first utility bill was $1,400 US. Needless to say, I learned to run my AC a lot less, use the timer function on that AC, open my windows and turn it off during the day, and I have told many other people how to optimize your AC usage so that you can pay as little in utility bills as possible. You also need to be aware of water costs, because water, relatively speaking, is more expensive than you're probably used to where you're coming from. One last point I almost forgot about. When you call me and you ask me to do research on properties, I'm going to tell you this, and I'll tell you this on the video right now. There is no centralized database. There's no multiple listing service, or MLS, as you've heard about. So you can't look up comparables. You can't look up the history of the property. You can't look up what it sold for last. You can't look up, what's going on in the market. See, in the United States, in Canada, and various other places around the world, that information is public and you can access it very easily, and it allows you to make really good decisions. In Belize, you have to rely on the expertise of the grapevine, and the grapevine is what I'm tapped into with all the other real estate agents, tapped into with all the other people that I know in Belize, to find out what's the story of the property, what's the history of that property, who owned it last, how long did they own it for, what did they buy it for, what's the rental history of that property. Once you know these things, you can make a better decision. And that's really all I'm here to do, is help you get as much information as possible so that you can make the best decision for your particular situation and objectives. So contact me first. If you run across a property that you're interested in, send me the link. You can do that WhatsApp, Messenger, or email at info@paradisesky.com. I'll take a look at it. I'll tap into my network and I'll find out every bit of information I can, and I'll convey that back to you so you can decide what to do next. All right, let's move on to our final topic. What other types of investments are available in Belize? Well, if you want to get involved in a bigger investment and you have a limited amount of money, you can get involved in what's called a syndication. A syndication is where maybe you're going to get involved with a developer and help to build a resort. Or maybe you're going to buy specific units at resorts that are already in the process of being developed. But you can't afford the whole unit yourself, so you get together with partners and you buy it together. If you're interested in syndication opportunities, I can tell you about many of those. Some of those are really great, some of those are not so great, so you need to proceed buyer beware. Timeshares. Yes, timeshares exist in Belize just like most places in the world. Some are okay, some are not so okay, some are completely awful. So you need to be aware of that. If you're going to go and sit through some timeshare presentations, ask me about the place that you're going to look at so that I can tell you a little bit about it and advise you what to be prepared for as far as your presentation and or possibly the sales pressure you might experience after that presentation. I'll also tell you about maybe the history of what my past clients have experienced as far as the rewards or the incentives that they've given to them for attending such presentations. So next, buying a business and or starting your own business. This is very common. People come to Belize and they see that there's so much here in Belize that doesn't exist yet, or something that needs to exist, or they have an idea of how to take an existing business and improve upon it. Buying a business, starting a business can be very, very lucrative in Belize. but I've seen many people come and buy businesses and go out of business and or have to sell their businesses. I've also seen lots of people come to Belize and leave because they didn't know all of the information that I shared with you on this video here today, but there is so much more. As you've seen here today, there is much more information than what I was able to give here in this short period of time, and that's why I want you to contact me as soon as possible. info@paradisesky.com. Hit me up on Facebook. Just go to Paradise Sky on Facebook. I'm easy to find. You can look me up on WhatsApp. You can look me up on Instagram at The Paradise Sky. I'm easy to find. Just do a quick search, and once you find me, ask me all of your questions, set up a consultation, and let's make sure that you get all the information that you're going to need most. So, with that, my name is William Narod. As always, I am the Paradise Guy. Thank you so much for staying till the end of this video. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and be sure to share this with anybody else you might know who might be interested in a life, a vacation, and or investment in the beautiful country of Belize. Like I said, my name is William Narod. I am the Paradise Guy. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in beautiful Belize in the near future. Y'all take care. Cheers.